Every night you spend awake after 60 is a night robbed of the peace you deserve. What I'm about to show you should be taught to every family who has someone suffering from insomnia and a racing mind. Over the years of observing how sleep changes after this age, I've discovered something few understand. Our minds change their natural rhythm and require completely different approaches than those we used in our 30s or 40s. If you recognize these signs, you can't wait any longer. Maybe you lie in bed and your mind races like an out-of-tune engine, replaying conversations from the day, worries about children and grandchildren, bills to pay, or simply thoughts that pop up out of nowhere. You toss and turn, look at the clock, and realize it's already 2 in the morning. Despair sets in as you realize you need to wake up early, but sleep won't come. This isn't normal, even after 60. You don't have to accept that poor sleep is part of aging. Your mind can regain the tranquility it once had, but it requires specific techniques that work with the natural changes your brain experiences at this stage of life. During my clinical practice, I've developed 6 nighttime techniques that have transformed the sleep of hundreds of people your age. These aren't generic methods you'll find anywhere. They're approaches created specifically for those facing the neurological and emotional changes that occur after 60. A 68-year-old woman told me she managed to sleep soundly for the first time in 5 years using just 2 of these techniques. A 72-year-old man discovered how to silence his mind in less than 10 minutes. These aren't empty promises. They're real results from people who decided to put up with no more sleepless nights. What I'm going to share today goes beyond counting sheep or drinking chamomile tea. These are neuroscience-based techniques adapted to work with your mature brain, respecting your life experiences and using the wisdom you already possess to your advantage. You deserve to wake up rested, with energy to enjoy your days, to be present with those you love, to live with the vitality you've always had. Every good night's sleep is a gift you give to yourself and everyone around you. Type yes if you too get tired of staring at the ceiling waiting for sleep to come. The transformation I've witnessed in the lives of people who have finally regained their night's sleep goes far beyond simply sleeping better. It's like watching someone reclaim an essential part of who they've always been. I remember a 65-year-old patient who came to my office after 2 years of sleeping only 3 or 4 hours a night. She described feeling like a shadow of herself during the day, irritable with her grandchildren, impatient with her husband's conversations, and canceling meetings with friends because she had no energy. 6 weeks after applying these techniques, she called me crying with joy. It wasn't just her sleep that had returned, it was herself who had returned. Another case that deeply impacted me was that of a 71-year-old retired man who developed insomnia after he stopped working. His mind simply couldn't shut off, replaying decades of responsibilities he no longer had. When he finally learned to direct his thoughts constructively using the techniques I teach, he not only slept again, but also discovered an inner peace he hadn't felt in years. What moves me most is realizing how restful sleep restores people's ability to be present grandparents, more loving partners, and more available friends. One woman told me she started telling her grandchildren bedtime stories again, something she'd stopped doing because she was always too tired to be creative. There's something deeply nostalgic about recapturing that peaceful sleep we had when we were younger. I'm not talking about the deep sleep of youth, but that peaceful night where the mind naturally calms, where problems don't haunt our dreams, where we wake up feeling truly rested. Our generation lived through times when the pace of life was different. We had more defined schedules, less light stimulation at night, and more predictable routines. Our brains were formed in this context, and they still carry that memory. The techniques I developed work precisely with this neurological memory, activating relaxation patterns that your brain already knows but may have forgotten how to access. The difference between those who sleep well after 60 and those who suffer from insomnia isn't luck or genetics. It's understanding that our mature brains need specific signals to enter rest mode. They need rituals that make sense of our life story, techniques that honor our experience and wisdom. When you learn to work with your brain instead of fighting it, When you understand that your experienced mind can be your greatest ally in relaxation, everything changes. Sleep stops being a battle and becomes a gentle encounter with yourself. People who have transformed their nights have one thing in common. They stopped trying to force sleep and started creating the conditions for it to come naturally. They discovered that maturity brings unique benefits for relaxation, advantages that younger people don't have. Every good night's sleep becomes an investment in your quality of life the next day. You wake up not only physically rested, but emotionally balanced, mentally clear, ready to enjoy every moment with the people you love. The full protocol involves a very specific sequence we developed specifically for people over 60. The first technique that has completely transformed the nighttime routine of hundreds of my patients is what I call the 5 senses neurological reset. Our mature mind has a unique characteristic. It processes information much more intensely than in our youth. Every sound, every light, every physical sensation becomes amplified when we're trying to sleep. The experienced brain can't simply turn off like it did in our 30s. It needs to be gently guided into a state of relaxation. The neurological reset works by creating a bridge between alertness and sleep through the 5 senses. We always start with hearing because it's the sense that most influences sleep after age 60. You'll sit on the edge of your bed and consciously identify 3 ambient sounds. It could be the noise of a fan, distant cars. Even silence itself has a sound. Acknowledge each one for 10 seconds without judgment, just observing. Next, we work on vision in a very specific way. With the lights already off, you'll stare at the darkest spot in the room for 30 seconds. This trains your brain to accept darkness as an ally, not a source of anxiety. Many of my patients have told me they developed an unconscious fear of the dark after age 60, associating it with disturbing thoughts. The third step involves smelling through a technique I discovered by chance. You'll inhale deeply through your nose 3 times, paying attention to the specific scent of your pillow, your pajamas, and your familiar surroundings. Our mature brains are deeply calmed by familiar, safe scents. It's as if we're activating memories of comfort we've had for decades. For touch, we've developed what I call conscious tactile mapping. You'll gently run your hands over the sheets, feeling the texture, temperature, and weight of the blanket. Gently touch your own face as you would a grandchild. This tactile connection with yourself creates a sense of security that the brain interprets as a signal to relax. The final sense, taste, is engaged subtly but powerfully. You'll gently run your tongue over your lips, savoring the taste that naturally resides in your mouth. It may seem simple, but this conscious recognition of taste completes the sensory cycle and signals to the brain that all senses are at rest. A 66-year-old patient described to me that the first few times she practiced this technique, she discovered she was constantly tense without realizing it. Neurological reset helped her identify tensions she'd been carrying for years. Today, she practices the entire sequence in less than 5 minutes and falls asleep naturally shortly thereafter. What makes this technique special for our age is that it doesn't fight racing thoughts. It simply offers a conscious and relaxing activity for the mind. Instead of trying not to think, you give your brain a specific calming task. Neuroscience shows us that after 60, our brains benefit enormously from conscious sensory rituals. It's as if we're reminding our nervous system what it felt like to feel truly at peace. Each sense, intentionally engaged, becomes an anchor of tranquility. Many patients tell me they've started using this technique not only to sleep, but whenever they feel anxious during the day. One woman told me she practices neurological reset when she's waiting in doctor's offices, transforming moments of anxiety into opportunities for relaxation. The beauty of this first technique lies in its simplicity and the way it honors the wisdom of your mature body. You're not forcing anything. You're simply creating the conditions for your experienced brain to do what it does best: relax, through familiarity and comfort. If you had to choose one technique to start today, this would be it. After 3 days of practice, you'll start to notice how your mind responds differently at bedtime. Comment below with your #1 recommendation if you're going to try the 5 senses neurological reset today. The difference between people who sleep well and those who spend hours awake in bed lies in mastering the second technique, directed self-talk. After 60, our minds develop a unique characteristic that can be our greatest ally or our greatest enemy when it comes to sleep: the ability to process decades of experiences simultaneously. Contrary to popular belief, the problem isn't the thoughts themselves, but their lack of direction. Your experienced mind possesses a rich emotional and experiential library, and when you lie down to sleep, it naturally wants to review, organize, and process it all. Guided self-talk teaches you how to conduct this review in a constructive and relaxing way. The technique begins with what I call honest acknowledgement. Instead of fighting the thoughts that arise, you mentally greet them. If a health concern arises, you say internally, "Hello, worry. I see you and I understand." If a memory of work or children arises, you acknowledge it. "Hello, memory. Thank you for taking care of me." This recognition works because our mature brain doesn't respond well to repression. It needs to feel heard and validated. When you acknowledge a thought instead of fighting it, you automatically reduce the emotional intensity it carries. The second step is gentle redirection. After recognizing the thought, you mentally direct it to a specific mental file. Create 3 imaginary files: to be resolved tomorrow, fond memories, and worries I can't control. Each thought that arises is gently placed in the appropriate file. A 69-year-old patient told me that this simple mental organization completely transformed her nights. She discovered that her mind was mixing real worries with nostalgic memories and imaginary anxieties, creating an emotional turmoil. Separating her thoughts into categories brought immediate clarity. The third element of the internal dialogue is loving closure. For each file you've completed, you say a closing phrase. For to be resolved tomorrow, you might say, "I trust my wisdom to deal with this at the right time." For cherish memories, you might say, "I am grateful for these memories that warm my heart." For uncontrollable worries, you might say, "I hand this over to time and life, which have always taken care of me." What makes this technique powerful for our generation is that it works with our natural tendency to reflect, rather than trying to suppress it. Our mature brains are naturally contemplative, and guided self-talk transforms this contemplation into a peaceful ritual. A fascinating thing I discovered is that many of my patients began to have more organized and restful dreams after practicing this technique. It's as if the brain, having received a conscious structure for processing thoughts, was able to do its job more efficiently during sleep. The practical application is simple, but requires consistency. In the first few days, set aside 10 to 15 minutes for the complete process. With practice, you can complete the entire self-dialogue in just 3 or 4 minutes. The important thing is to never skip honest acknowledgement, which is what calms the urgency of thoughts. Many patients tell me that this technique has changed not only their sleep, but also their relationship with their thoughts during the day. One woman told me she stopped feeling guilty about worrying, understanding that worry is a form of love and care. She just needed guidance. Guided self-talk honors your wisdom and life experience, transforming what many see as a racing mind into a conscious and calming process. Your mature mind doesn't need to stop thinking to sleep. It needs to learn to think in an organized and loving way. The third technique that has revolutionized my patients' sleep is the time anchoring ritual, an approach that specifically addresses our generation's unique relationship with time and memories. After 60, our brains process time differently, and we can use this to our advantage to induce deep relaxation. The grounding ritual works by creating a conscious bridge between the anxious present and moments in the past when you felt completely safe and calm. I'm not talking about melancholic nostalgia, but about neurologically accessing states of peace that your brain already knows and can recreate. Start by choosing 3 specific time anchors from your life. The first should be from your childhood, a time when you felt absolutely protected. It could be sleeping at your grandparents' house, listening to adults' conversations in the living room, or that feeling of complete security in your mother's lap. The second anchor comes from your youth, perhaps those lazy Sundays without responsibilities, or the peace of waking up on vacation, knowing you had nothing urgent to do. The third anchor is more recent, but equally important. There was some point in the last few years when you felt truly at peace. It might have been holding a grandchild, a quiet afternoon in the garden, or simply a pleasant conversation with a dear friend. This recent anchor proves to your brain that tranquility is still possible in your current life. The process of activating anchors is where the neurological magic happens. Lying in bed, you'll mentally revisit the first anchor for exactly 2 minutes. Don't just remember the moment, relive it sensorially. What were the smells, sounds, tactile sensations, and temperature? Your brain will begin to reproduce the neurotransmitters associated with that state of tranquility. A 64-year-old patient described to me that when she activates her childhood anchor, remembering the sound of rain on her grandmother's roof while safe in bed, her entire body instantly relaxes. It's as if decades of tension simply melt away. After 2 minutes of the first anchor, you move on to the second, maintaining the same sensory intensity. Interestingly, your brain begins to create a temporal progression of tranquility, connecting different periods of your life through the shared feeling of peace. The third anchor, being more recent, serves as proof that these states of tranquility are not just distant memories, but experiences accessible in your current life. This creates a powerful neural bridge between the serene past and the possible present. A 73-year-old man told me he developed a personal variation of the technique, including a fourth anchor, a positive projection of the near future. He imagines waking up rested the next day, feeling refreshed and ready to seize the day. This addition created a complete cycle of temporal tranquility. What makes the grounding ritual especially effective for our generation is that it values our rich life history. Rather than seeing the past as something already gone, we use these experiences as active neurological resources for present well-being. Neuroscience confirms that our mature brain maintains privileged access to positive emotional memories, and when we consciously activate these neural circuits, the body responds by producing the same relaxation hormones as those original moments. Many patients tell me they've started using temporal anchors throughout the day as well, whenever they feel anxious or overwhelmed. It's like having an emotional reset button always available. If you're realizing the true value of these techniques and want to ensure you don't miss the next discoveries I share about sleep and mental tranquility after 60, subscribe to the channel now. Every week, I bring you insights specific to our generation, based on years of clinical practice and the latest findings in the neuroscience of healthy aging. The order and specific timing of these 3 techniques make all the difference in results. After years of observing hundreds of patients, I've discovered that there's an optimal neurological sequence that maximizes the effect of each technique. Always start with the 5 senses neurological reset because it prepares your nervous system to receive the other techniques. It's like calibrating an instrument before playing a song. Your senses need to be organized and receptive for the brain to enter collaboration mode. Wait at least 5 minutes before beginning directed self-dialogue. This interval allows the nervous system to assimilate the initial relaxation and prepare for the organizational mental work. Jumping straight from one technique to the next can create stimulus overload. The temporal anchoring ritual should always come last, when your brain is already receptive and organized. This is when memories of tranquility have the greatest power of neurological activation. Many patients tell me they can only activate the first anchor before falling asleep naturally. For the first 10 days, practice the entire sequence. After that, you can use just 1 or 2 techniques, depending on your emotional state that night. Flexibility is key to maintaining a sustainable practice. Your sister, friend, or neighbor who complains about not being able to relax needs to see this. Share it now. It could change someone's life today. The remaining 3 techniques that complete the protocol are equally transformative and address specific issues that arise on the most challenging nights. The 4th technique is the adapted 4-7-8 breathing method, specifically modified for people over 60 who may have breathing limitations or breathing-related anxiety. Traditional 4-7-8 breathing can be too intense for our mature nervous systems. Our adapted version uses the 4-4-4 count, which is gentler but equally effective. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, and exhale for a count of 4. The important thing is that the exhalation is always slow and controlled, signaling the vagus nerve that it's safe to relax. A 71-year-old patient with a history of anxiety told me that 4-4-4 breathing has become her safety anchor. Whenever she feels her heart racing in bed, she initiates the breathing pattern and feels an immediate calm spreading throughout her body. The key is regularity, not intensity. The 5th technique is gentle progressive muscle relaxation, adapted for joints and muscles that may have limitations. Instead of intensely contracting each muscle group, you'll perform microtensions followed by complete relaxation. Start with your toes, gently tensing for 3 seconds, then relaxing completely for 10 seconds. What I've discovered is that our mature bodies respond better to subtle contrasts than to extremes. A microtension followed by deep relaxation creates a more intense sense of relief than a strong contraction. Gradually move up through the muscles of your legs, abdomen, and arms until you reach your face, always with this conscious gentleness. A 68-year-old man told me that gentle progressive relaxation helped him uncover tension he'd been carrying for decades without realizing it. Today he practices a reduced version, focusing only on his shoulders and jaw, which are where he accumulates the most stress. The 6th and final technique is the nighttime gratitude journal, which specifically addresses the mature mind's tendency to focus on worries at night. Instead of fighting this tendency, we direct our attention to the positive aspects of the day in a structured way. Mentally, you'll list 3 specific things you're grateful for this past day. These can't be generic things like health or family. They should be specific moments, like the smile of the grocery store clerk, the taste of breakfast, or my daughter's loving call. Specificity is crucial because it forces the brain to review the day, looking for positive moments rather than ruminating on problems. A 74-year-old woman told me that this practice transformed not only her nights, but her entire outlook on life. She began paying more attention to the small pleasures throughout the day, knowing that they would become her anchors for nighttime gratitude. The powerful thing about this technique is that it uses the mature brain's natural tendency to take stock and analyze, but directs this capacity toward what nourishes the soul rather than what disturbs it. You're not denying your problems, you're balancing the mental scales. Many patients have developed personal variations of the mental diary. Some include a gratitude for the memory of a loved one who has passed away. Others dedicate a specific gratitude to each grandchild. The important thing is that it is genuine and specific. When you master these 6 techniques, you'll have a complete arsenal for any challenging night. Insomnia from anxiety, a racing mind from worries, physical tension from stress, or simply difficulty winding down after a busy day. Each technique addresses a specific need, but they all work in harmony. An important decision now: choose the technique that makes the most sense and commit to it for 72 hours. Comment using this format: 4-4-4 breathing, 3-day commitment, or memory anchor, 3-day commitment. Research shows that those who publicly commit to a specific time frame are 73% more likely to stick with it until they see real results. You've just discovered a complete system that can transform your nights and, consequently, your days. These 6 techniques aren't just methods for better sleep. They're tools for reconnecting with the tranquility that naturally exists within you, but which may have been forgotten in the rush of life. The 5 Senses Neurological Reset reconnects you with the present moment. Directed self-talk lovingly organizes your wise mind. The time-anchoring ritual uses your rich life story as a source of peace. 4-4-4. Breathing calms your nervous system while respecting its limitations. Gentle, progressive relaxation gently releases accumulated tension. And the gratitude journal transforms your natural tendency toward reflection into a source of joy. Remember that you don't need to master all the techniques at once. Start with the one that makes the most sense for your current situation. Be patient with yourself. Your mature brain learns differently, but when it does learn, it embodies them much more deeply and lastingly than in youth. Every night you practice these techniques is an investment in your quality of life, in your energy to be present with those you love, in your ability to enjoy your golden years with the vitality you deserve. Your experience matters to others going through the same situation. If this content brought you hope and direction, please like the video so more people can find it. Leave a comment about which technique you'll try first. Your experience may inspire someone who's feeling discouraged. Subscribe to the channel to receive more content tailored to our generation, always based on science and real clinical experience. And don't forget to share it with that special someone who also deserves peaceful nights and renewed days. You deserve to sleep peacefully. Your family deserves to have you rested and present. Start today. Your transformation has already begun.